The man passed his hat back and forth in his hands, leaving damp marks along the felt. The door opened and he stepped inside. A few minutes later, Brother Joseph came to gather the children and said, "Get to the statue." The statue of St. Anthony sat in the center of the yard. It was carved from marble, dressed in the robes of the Franciscan friars. The dome of St. Anthony's head was bald, with a halo circling his brow. In one hand he held a lily, and in the other a small child wearing a crown. The child was holding out one palm in supplication, and using the other to touch the saint's cheek. There were times, when the sun receded in the afternoon and shadows played across the stone, that the touch looked more like a slap. This child was Jesus Christ, and the pairing was proof of St. Anthony's ability to carry messages to God. When a loaf of bread went missing from the kitchen, or Father John couldn't find the keys to the chapel, the children were sent to the statue. "St. Anthony, St. Anthony, come bring what I've lost back to me." Catholics were rare in this part of New England. A local Irishman who had made a fortune pressing cheap grapes into strong port had left his vineyard to the church in a desperate bid for heaven before he died. The brothers of St. Anthony were sent to claim the land and build the monastery. They found themselves surrounded by Protestants, who, in the first month of their arrival, burned down the barn, fouled the well, and caught two brothers after dark on the road and sent them home tarred and feathered. After praying for guidance, the brothers turned to the Irishman's wine press, which was still intact and on the grounds. Plants were sent from Italy, and after some trial and error, the brothers matched the right vine with their stony New England soil. Before long, St. Anthony's became well known for their particular vintage, which they aged in old wooden casks and used for their morning and evening masses. The unconsecrated wine was sold to the local taverns and also to individual landowners, who sent their servants to collect the bottles in the night, so that their neighbors would not see them doing business with Catholics. Soon after this, the first child was left. Brother Joseph heard cries one morning before sunrise and opened the door to find a baby wrapped in a soiled dress. The second child was left in a bucket near the well, the third in a basket by the outhouse. Girls were collected every few months by the Sisters of Charity, who worked in a hospital some distance away. What happened to them no one knew, but the boys were left at St. Anthony's, and before long the monastery had turned into a de facto orphanage for the bastard children of the local townspeople, who still occasionally tried to burn the place to the ground. To control these attempts at arson, the brothers built a high brick wall around the property, which sloped and towered like a fortress along the road. At the bottom of the wooden gate that served as the entrance, they cut a small swinging door, and it was through this tiny opening that the babies were pushed. Wren was told that he too had been pushed through this gate and found the following morning, covered in mud in the prior's garden. It had rained the night before, and although Wren had no memory of the storm, he often wondered why he had been left in bad weather. It always led to the same conclusion, that whoever had brought him there could not wait to be rid of him. The gate was hinged to open one way, in. When Wren pushed at the tiny door with his finger, he could feel the strength of the wooden frame behind it. There was no handle on the children's side, no groove to lift from underneath. The wood was heavy, thick, and old, a fine piece of oak planed years before from the woods beyond the orphanage. Wren liked to imagine he felt a pressure in return, a mother reaching back through, changing her mind, groping wildly, a thin white arm. Underneath St. Anthony's statue, the younger boys fidgeted and pushed. The older ones cleared their throats nervously. Brother Joseph walked down the line and straightened their clothes or spit on his hand and scrubbed their faces, bumping his large stomach into the children who had fallen out of place. He pushed it now toward a 6-year-old who had suddenly sprung a bloody nose from the